You're listening to Keepin' It Trill with Amanda Wilson.
Hey you guys, what's up? It's Amanda. It's another episode of Keepin' It Trill. This week, my guest, the very funny Mike Peters. What's up, Mike?
Not too much. It's really cool. Like, I could hear the intro theme in my head,
yeah.
the Trill sound when you were going. I was like, I recognize this. This is cool. Like,
you know what? I made that on GarageBand, and it's like kind of a lost file, and I cannot get back to edit it because I was trying to cut it down.
You can't now.
No, you can't.
Just hearing you say that, in my head, I was adding the soundtrack, and I was like, oh shit, this is just like when she does the YouTube and stuff. Like,
I know, when people come over to my house, they're like, oh my god, I'm like here, and I'm like, it's just my kitchen table. But
yeah, dude.
Here we are. Welcome to Keepin' It Trill. How are you?
Kitchen table now. It's good.
You just fed me dinner. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Yeah.
And he made me a drink. Is this a Moscow Mule?
It is. Yeah. He said vodka, and I was like, I don't really have any juice.
Oh, that's okay.
Usually I'd go like some.
You did say
juice.
you had apple juice. Do people drink apple juice and vodka?
And vodka? I mean, you can.
Doesn't that seem like something a child would do if they were stealing liquor from their parents?
I don't know what's in an apple teeny, I'll be honest with you, but I'm curious now. I feel like apple juice could be in an apple teeny.
What else would flavor it?
Maybe.
Apple?
I don't. Green.
Green number 72.
Yeah. I have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, chemicals that you can't pronounce.
Yeah. I don't know.
So Mike is a local stand-up. That's how I know him. We have done some shows together. I don't know. Do you still host? I know it's crazy time, but one of the last shows that I did before lockdown was the show that you produce at Good Liquid Brewing.
Yeah. So that show, if it wasn't my last show that you were on, it was one of my last shows.
Okay.
I was looking to get out of that anyway. I don't think it's still going because like the very next month was like March. I think the last show that I did was February.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, no, it was January. So January is my last show, and then the end of February, because I always do the last week of the month. Mm-hmm. The last week of the month was the last week of February, which was like
when it started getting crazy.
Everybody tear the paper, throw it in the air, set it on fire, like everyone's gonna die. And so there was no show, and I don't know. I mean.
Well, that was really wild because I pulled up to the plaza. It's in a strip mall type of thing, and the fire alarm was going. That was that night.
Yeah, that was my last show. That was my last show.
The fire alarm was going off for like 45 minutes, and no one could figure out what business it was coming from. And then it started raining, and then it was like just one thing. But in the end, it turned out to be a good show. But it was just like everything that could happen up to showtime did.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely did. Yeah, my last show, nobody shows up. Like, I had a bunch of friends cancel, like, hey, I'm going to make it. I was like, don't worry about it. I get, like, 30, 40 people in attendance minimum every show. Yeah. I don't care. Like, if you're not there, it's not the end of the world. I get there, there's nobody there. I was like, okay, well, this is a problem. Usually there's people here, like, hey, what's up, Mike? We're here. Like, and there's nobody there. And I start calling friends. They're like, yeah, I still can't make it. I'm like, well, you need to because there's no one else here.
I know that I was cool about it an hour ago, but now I'm not chilling anymore.
Right. Like, originally it was like, chicks are coming. Chicks, don't worry, chicks are coming. Like, they're here. Like, it was one of those moments. And then you were telling me that you were on your way, and I was like, do you have friends you can pick up on the way? Because there's nobody here.
I know. I'm like, I'm driving from an hour away, so no, I don't know anybody on the side of the highway, but... And
then the fire alarm went off, and we were already outside when you got there.
And it was in that wild antique store. Which, if there was an actual fire... I've been watching Hoarders again lately.
A really cringy antique store, by the way. The weirdest stuff.
Yeah, I was looking through the windows, and it just reminded me of, like, a hoarder's house in there. And I'm like, this is not up to code, I feel like.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's called, like, Kyle's or something, and there's, like a halo and wings for, like, their logo. And I'm just like, did Kyle die? Like, it's like Kyle died. And, like, these are his action figures. Like, do you want to buy one of Kyle's action figures? Please, I can't pay my rent. Like, okay, I'll...
I just said memorandum for someone who died, but you knew what I meant. Memorial.
Yeah.
Send out a memo. He died. It's no big deal.
Yeah, it's a really weird store.
Yeah, it was. But I've been watching Hoarders because they had the latest season on Hulu. Mm-hmm. And so I watched, there was only 6 episodes in that, so then I went back and was watching old episodes.
You gotta go back and watch the old ones.
Oh my god. Well, I've seen the show before, but like...
For continuity.
Yes. Well, I've seen them. It's one of those shows that I watched like when demand wasn't really a thing, so I actually watched it when it like came on.
Right.
So I saw episodes here and there, but I never watched it all the way through. Yeah. I think that I'm willing to say that hoarding is the most upsetting mental illness there is.
It's pretty weird. I can't challenge that off the top of my head. It's pretty alarming.
There's so many elements into it. It's like, you could hoard animals. You could hoard and also shit in your kitchen. Like, there's so many other things.
And they look just like us. So,
some
like,
of them.
Some of that's true. Yeah, some of them you can tell.
Sorry, my nose is running.
You're good. But, like, some of them you're like, oh, okay, like, normal person. You go over to their house. You want to come inside? Sure, come inside. And you're like, what?
Well, it's crazy because the people are like, oh, we knew that she wasn't a good housekeeper, but we didn't know this was happening. Yeah. And when they say this was happening, the two there's three that really stand out to me right now. There's one lady who was hoarding cats, and she had no furniture in her house except her bed because the cats had destroyed everything. She couldn't even use her kitchen because they had shit everywhere. The whole counters were just full of cat shit, and all the cats were sick because they're living in this environment. So they removed 50 cats, and only 18 of them didn't get euthanized for health issues.
Jeez.
Yeah.
How does it get that far though? Like, you don't see shit on the counter when it's happening. Be like, oh damn, I picked that up. Like,
well, the thing is that she was bringing in. She lived in, I think, Indiana or. Of course. Illinois, I forget, but somewhere where it gets really cold in the winter, and there would be wild cats, and she would bring them into her house, so they're not litter trained at all. So she's bringing in farm cats, and they're just like, oh, you want us to spray all 8 feet of this wall? No problem, we're on it. Yeah.
I don't...
And it was just so upsetting. But that wasn't the worst part. Not only did they find 50 living cats in there.
Wait, 50 or 15? Hold up.
50, 50. The big
Holy
50.
Shit.
What is that, the silver or the gold anniversary? I don't know, but
I don't even know. That's probably a medal that we're unfamiliar with. It's one of those anniversaries. Like, that's palladium or something. Like,
what? 50 living cats, including kittens. But the worst part...
I like that you said living, like, there's also, like...
Oh, yeah.
Like, just random dead cats. Like, oh, okay, we're getting there.
Yeah,
good. I was so excited we're getting there.
There was dead cats.
Okay.
But she was so crazy that she couldn't part with them, so if cats that she liked died, she kept them in her freezer and refrigerator. They pulled, like, 30 cats out of this lady's freezer. It was the cleaning guy who goes on there, I forget his name, but he's like, I've never seen anything like this. Because she had them frozen in the freezer, which that's one thing because they're contained, they're rock solid. Yeah. But the ones in the fridge were a whole nother story, because when they pulled them all out, they were like, okay, everyone has to get out of here now, because you see this in the bottom of the fridge, this is cat juice. And they called it cat juice. They called it cat juice, and I was like, it was just like this, like, just substance of like what came out of them after they were, because her fridge is at like, I don't know, a solid 40 degrees or something, and you gotta go at least 37 if you want the cat to not drip juice. Everyone knows that. She didn't. Who puts cats in and doesn't adjust the temperature setting? Right? I mean, that's, first of all, that's a rookie mistake.
Psycho stuff.
Yeah. Rookie mistake. Stuff. Yeah, cat juice. So that was really upsetting. Then there was another lady. I'm so glad my wife's not here to hear it like this. She's like, because she would be like sobbing right now. Oh, I know. There's like, she's like a huge cat person. Like that, it'd be it. Like you would just hear sobbing in the corner. Yeah. My friend Muriel, if I even said that a lady had 50 cats in her house, she would start weeping. She would be like, I know that they're not healthy. Like, there's just people who are like that. I get it. Yeah. But and then there was another lady in Washington who had stuff everywhere, and her bathroom hadn't worked for 10 years. Because she could, because this is the problem. Because of course, they get so much stuff in their house, and then they can't have repair people in because they're gonna call somebody on them. Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's just like the hoard is the first problem, and then the secondary problem is that you can't get anything repaired ever. So her toilet hadn't worked in I don't know how long. So she had resorted to using the 5-gallon Homer bucket from Home Depot. Oh, you know what? Mine just sits in my garage. I feel like at least she puts it to use. You know what I mean? No, she had it next to her, and if she couldn't get to the bucket, she also had a special coffee cup that she liked to use. That's interesting. I feel like
It's like returning to the source. Like, you drink coffee and immediately shits. Just like a coffee mug,
So
you know?
she
like,
was sitting on like a trash
the great circle of
throne,
life. Yeah.
eating canned soup out of a paper bowl that she had reused from something else. And the guy even said, and she would dump the bucket in the front yard. That was her thing. She would just go outside and like slop it out the front door.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, oh, I could really smell it when I walked up. And she goes, my house has a smell to it? She was shocked. She was like, wait a minute. You mean like...
How could that be?
She said, you mean like mildew, right? Because my sister came in here and she said that there was kind of like a musty mildew smell. As she's sitting on a throne of trash, mind you, saying, you think it stinks in here? Like, you smell something? And he goes, no, Shanna, it's fecal matter. There is poop everywhere.
There's poo everywhere.
And she was
There's
like...
poo on you right now.
Yeah,
like,
and the look on her face, like, there was nothing behind the windows.
Oh,
it
of
was
course
like, just like the 10-yard stare, and she goes, well... I learned something about fecal matter today. It stinks. She's like that. Like she just said.
I like the rainbow, like the more you know.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, yeah, it does stink. I noticed that too.
Like I just couldn't stop. I was like hands on top of my head, hands on my cheeks. I like didn't know what. It just kept getting worse.
Such a great confirmation. Like I always thought, like, oh, my poo smells weird. She's like, fecal matter smells weird. Like, oh, mine too. This is relatable.
Yeah, and
we're relating.
I've never thought that poop smelled like mildew either. So I thought that was a weird thing to say. There was just so much happening. And what was the other one that was really bad?
You know what's really great though is there's something you said that made me like crack up. It was like the guy that said like I've never seen anything like this before. Like, how great though if the guy had seen stuff like this before, he'd be like, this stuff happens all the time.
Yeah,
he's totally pro. He's been on Hoarders before.
Oh, well, you know what?
He's like the Law and Order witness testimony guy who's always there. Like, no, I see this all the time. Cat juice at this one lady's house, way worse than this.
And cat juice is the scientific term. There's no like better word for it. It's just cat juice. But the lady, because whenever they have an animal hoard, it's like. There's people who just hoard shit, and then there's animal hoarders, and they always bring in somebody from the ASPCA when that happens. And the lady from the SPCA was saying that actually finding the frozen cats is not uncommon in animal hoards. Yeah, so they took,
So this lady's like, it's one of the frozen ones? It's nothing. Like, let me tell you about the unfrozen ones. Like, you what? Like, yeah. Okay.
Speaking of, that just reminded me, they did find unfrozen ones that were in food saver bags. Yeah, in the closet. It was like a house of horrors. And the lady was just a grocery store cashier, which freaks me out because I'm like, how many people at my Publix are hoarding cats? Like,
yeah, right.
You never
have
know.
Cat juice on their hands while they're stocking your cans.
Exactly,
right?
I know. And that's one reason why I'm a little bit glad for COVID, because I feel like people are finally washing their hands and staying away from it.
Outside of Florida, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I really
outside of Florida.
hope. I just, it makes me feel better to think that they are. They might not
It's
be.
a good thought. It's a great thought, but
Sally at register number 3 has cat juice at her house.
Probably.
It's probably happening.
Yeah, and it's the same people. And they have to talk to you about it. I'm surprised it hasn't come up because they always talk to you. No matter how much you put on your face, like, don't talk to me. Like, I have textbook resting bitch face. I look stoned, natural. Like, my natural state is like my eyes are half closed.
Yeah, you
don't
do.
talk to me. Thank you. I used to get asked for weed all the time. I used to have really long hair in college too, which I know, weird, right? But, like, who used to ask me for weed all the time? They're like,
so you were wearing the stoner uniform and you're like, why do you think that I smoke?
No matter what it says in my face, man, every time at Publix, like, they just sit there and, like, start conversations about the most random stuff. Like, are you working on crowd work right now? Like, leave me alone. Nothing about this face says, like, talk to me. Like, what?
Well, I have, like, sometimes my wrist, I think I have carpal tunnel from typing on a computer for 9 years at work or whatever, and sometimes this wrist will really bother me, and the only thing that makes it feel better is putting a brace on it. And when I do, my kids are like, you look like a Publix cashier. That I know, they roast the fuck out of me. I'm like, call me a marshmallow, because they're putting me over flames all the time. So whenever I have it on, all I can think about is a cashier. And
you just gotta start conversations around. At least you can legitimately say, like, I'm working on crowd work. Like, that's a thing that I do.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a comedian.
Yeah,
like, okay, that's fair.
I did have a little list of stuff to talk about. I mean, we could talk about whatever, but I did have a couple talking points. Comedy is not really happening right now, but it's also really crazy right now. It's like everybody's getting slammed with, like, sexual suits and, like, the stuff is it's really crazy. Like, what do you think about all this shit that's happening?
I don't know, man. Like, my general take on anything is, like, I won't weep for, like, millionaires and billionaires. Like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, and I think, like, it's frustrating because, like, this stuff always gets tied in, like the cancel culture thing. And I think there's a very real conversation to be had about that, too. And I just feel like the people that talk about it, though, like, don't need to be involved. Like, you're not getting canceled. Like, you're fine. Like, you're coming back. We know you're coming back, dude. You could literally do anything you want, and you have been. We've heard. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. We've heard that you've been taking liberties,
Yeah, you'll be back. Like, I'm down to talk about, like, random, like, YouTubers and, like, gamers that do, like the esports that are, like, sort of on the cusp of, like, okay, I can make money doing whatever this thing is now. And then, like, a Twitter mob is like, that's it, like, it's over. And you're like, that sucks. Like, this person, like, this was their only thing, was, like, but, like,
being
even
on the internet,
Yeah, like, what's his name? Gillis. Like, Shane Gillis the other day was tweeting, like, oh, cancel culture's not real, but don't worry, Bob's beat loaf in the basement tastes great. Like, Shane, you still have, like, 70,000 patrons on Patreon for your podcast. That got you canceled. Like, you'll be fine, dude. Like, you're still doing comedy. Like,
yeah, whenever you have something in the real world and the internet is just, like, a supplemental tool to what you're doing, then it's really hard to cancel those people if they have a fan base. But if your whole thing is online, then
right, like, you're not at that level. Like, yeah, sure, there are tons of comedians out there that we don't know the names of that have been, like, canceled, so to speak. Like, something happened, whatever it may be. Maybe it was their fault, maybe it was someone else's fault, and people were like, yo, like, we're not working with you anymore. That's shitty, and, like, I feel really bad for those people. But, like, all these big names, like, I don't care, I'm not losing sleep over that asshole. Like, he'll be fine.
When somebody, but, like, if you're on a smaller level, I don't think that you get canceled for nothing. You know what I mean? So
True.
it's like,
yeah, I mean, I guess my only thing is, like, I'm more open to the possibility. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like, I'll hear that out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not interested in hearing Louis C.K. getting canceled at all. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Louis, you're back, dude. You jerked off in front of your employees, which, by the way, is super weird. I don't know how we all, like, it wasn't that bad. Like, dude, I'm sorry. If my coworker starts jerking off next to me, like, that's a huge problem.
Well, and it's really weird because it's like, I guess I have a issue personally. Like, I don't know where exactly the line is, and it kind of always is moving, because I agree. I think what he did was super weird and creepy, but I also saw him do comedy after all that happened. So, like, I don't know what, like, and there was a lot of people who were, like, talking shit to me for going to see him, but I'm like,
That's kind of, see, like, I don't know that it's somebody else's spot necessarily to, like, that's still your choice.
Yeah.
Like, I won't go see him anymore. I'm kind of over, like,
yeah,
whatever.
And I would never be like, well, why won't you go see him?
Like, I get it.
Yeah, I feel like
especially being in comedy, like, there's still certain art to be observed. Like, he's still a really talented comic.
Really, really talented yeah,
so,
really talented. So it's just,
get it.
But it's like, Chris D'Elia, I'm not going to see him again, because the one time I did see him, it wasn't great enough for me to be like...
But you know what that's, like, especially frustrating is, like, you just kind of highlighted right there, though, is, like, I feel like if Chris D'Elia was Louis C.K. funny, it wouldn't matter. We would be like, oh, yeah, he totally tried to fuck kids. That's hilarious. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of messed up, too.
It's like, true, because it's like, think about, if you have a high enough star, you can get away with more. That's the truth of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it was just out, like, well, I don't know what the, like, I didn't look into it. Maybe there's more proof than I thought. But, like, as far as I know, it was mostly, like, allegations and, like, Snapchat screenshots and stuff
I
like that.
I never saw anything further than, like, screenshots of messages, but I never heard of someone, like, that he actually met up with. But I'm not saying that didn't happen, but I never saw that. I don't know.
But, like, that was enough for people to just be like, yeah, fuck him, throw him under. And you're like, okay, but, like, I feel like if he were funnier, you wouldn't, like...
Well, it's
you'd be like, they were just allegations. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
think about how crazy it had to get before R. Kelly went to jail.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he had been... People had been talking about stuff that he was doing. It wasn't just one instance. There was, like, a lot of stuff. And then finally they're like, all right.
Yeah.
Now he's got sex slaves.
We might have to talk about him peeing on 13-years-olds.
Yeah, they're like, all right, he's locking up in the basement. I guess we have to care now.
Yeah,
but before that, they were like, just sweep it under the rug. It's fine.
Yeah,
like,
it's weird.
So it's very weird, because I feel like we all like somebody who has done something bad. So to me, it's really hard to, like, there's not a one-size-fits-all for this. And, like, not everyone is going to see it the same way. So it's a weird time, but that's, like, the go-to is, like, everyone's trying to cancel everybody and all this stuff. And it's just, like...
You know what all that stuff is, though? Like, it's the market.
Yeah.
Like these, like if you want to sit there and champion like the free market, whatever, like okay, then we're not gonna like then that's organized boycotts. Like they're gonna happen.
And honestly, I feel like most of it is on Twitter specifically.
Twitter is a shitstorm of gossip.
Oh my god.
Insane.
Like, I have realized, because I've had Twitter for a couple of years, and I go through phases where I'll use it a lot, and then I won't go on it at all, and I just like ebbs and flows. But I've been on it recently because I've been home so much.
Sure.
And all the angry old people are on Facebook, and all the angry young people are on Twitter.
100%.
Yeah, it's
which is why Twitter is so much crazier, because like old people anger is so like short bursts, like. They're just like, they hired a new bagger at Publix and I don't like it.
The only thing
young people get like crazy angry, and hey, I'm not like dude. It's like I'm in that stage like it's tapering off.
Yeah.
But like I get it. I'm like, fuck yeah, burn that guy alive. Like I.
Yeah, no, I get into some stuff.
Kids.
Yeah,
like,
I'm like, down with the man. But I think that the thing that's like comforting about Facebook is that I know what the old people are going to be mad about. It's the same old shit. I kind of like know where they fit in. I never know what these fucking kids are going to be mad about. I'm like, it's like I go on the other day and someone was like, can we talk about people who, like, it'll just be like the most obscure thing, and I'm like...
how about the fact that, like...
Yeah, and it's like literally one instance that's never happened to anybody but you, and they're like, you guys are not ready for this conversation.
I'm about to spill some truth to you about this, but I don't know if you were aware of that. Like,
you're not ready for this conversation. I'm like, I honestly don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm not ready for this conversation.
No, I was like, you're light years ahead of me, because I don't even know what's happening Like, the stuff they're mad about, I don't even know half the time, so I'm like, that's how I know I'm old now. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay, I just turned 33 on Wednesday, so we're in the same bracket. And I'm like, damn, I'm old because I don't know what some of these online abbreviations are. I don't know what the kids are mad at. I
do have to look up a lot of hashtags and abbreviations.
Listen,
that's actually why I got back into Twitter, was like, I have had it for years. I never used it until like the last like few months. Basically the pandemic too. I was like, I might as well get on, try some jokes, right? But like I got on and like it was so fascinating the way that like the news happens here first.
Well, I think
then it gets everywhere else.
That's what drew me in, is that honestly...
The shit's at its source.
Yes, it's so much more real time on Twitter. It is crazy, but like you see stuff happening in real time, whereas it'll make it to Facebook like a day later or something.
Or even like a week later, someone like shares some tweet, like, hey, look at this screenshot of a tweet. I'm like, oh, I read that tweet. When
I know. I was like, I saw it. But
it's so cool. I like that. I want to see the heart with the number. I'm one of them.
If Urban Dictionary ever gets shut down, I'm just going to have to get off the internet because I don't know anything.
And some of it's really tough to Google. Like, some of it's easier, but some of them are, like, very... Like, they could have whatever it is, could have a ton of different meanings.
Yeah, and you're like, which one are they trying to use? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, like, some corporate whatever term, and I'm like, I don't think that's it. No, I don't think anything about eating booty would be in the same thing as, like... something about like when you get hired at work and you're not sure who to talk to. Like, I don't think that's the same thing.
I know, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
I kind of want there to be a class at the community center for like...
Yeah.
Because I need to know.
I would take them, now. But like in another 10 years when I'm like...
If they have bubbles for everybody, I'll go and have a lecture.
Like fanny pack and fishing hat level comfortable with myself, I would go to those classes.
Well, it could be like a reversal of a college course where it's like 19-year-olds talking to a 35-year-old who like could be a professor, but I'm like, tell me the slang because I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did I just make something up? I
could be a thing.
Trademark that,
Like, and then also teach the importance of like fact checking before you share shit, because that's another one that I see that seems to go down with age.
Yes. Well, and I saw that like Facebook has their own fact checker thing where it's like, this is partly false or whatever.
Thanks, Zuck. Appreciate it.
Yeah, but then somebody said that they looked into it and like their fact checking thing is even biased. So it's like old people are like, oh no, Facebook told me it was, but it's like, yeah, but Facebook told you it was, not somebody real.
Facebook fact checking isn't biased, it's just bad. Like there's so much stuff. Like that's the thing that I think Facebook is so dumb, is that like it's just this massive pipe of shit coming out.
Yeah.
You can't possibly filter it. And Zuckerberg, this moron who stumbled into this company that he stole from his friends, is just like, I will step up to the task and moderate this. And you're like, you can't moderate anything.
No.
You're not even human. You look like Data from Star Trek.
Stop trying to moderate and stop trying to steal land from the native people in Hawaii, Zuckerberg.
Yeah. You're canceled, Zuckerberg. We have the capacity to cancel you, but you're not ready for that conversation.
Zuck is not ready for that conversation.
He's not ready for that conversation.
Newsflash, I don't know who needs to hear this. Yeah, if I see one more,
Truth tea.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Yeah.
We get it.
Well, okay, this is one thing about, like, the cancel culture, whatever, is that I feel like it's an ego trip because who do you think you are where you have the power to, like, you have to think that you are already somebody to have the power over another human in the first place. So it's, like, kind of like an ego trip.
Yeah, I don't, so, like, this happens with a lot of comics. I feel like there aren't many comics at all that I've stayed with into, like, later years age. I feel like comedians especially tend to age poorly. And I don't mean comedy age, but I mean, like, they themselves. Like, they have to try for the laughs. And then they get to this point where they're just like, I said it, this is where you laugh. And we're like, yeah, but it's not that funny.
Well, I think that
And you're like, well, but it is, now they're canceling me. You're like, no, dude, you gotta keep writing new stuff.
I think that's the problem is that it's really hard to stay relevant and successful as a comedian because like Kevin Hart, once you're a multi-millionaire, you have a shoe deal, you're in movies, you're doing all this stuff, you are so successful and you're living a life that's so far removed from the people that you're telling jokes to, you're no longer doing relatable material. Yeah. And it's like, you're like...
It's the plane humor, like the airport humor, right? Like, once you get to that point where all your jokes involve flying and being on a plane, we're like, we get it, you fly a lot.
Yeah, and unless you travel for work, the average American is like, I maybe go on a trip twice a year if I can afford it. Like
the old Dave Chappelle joke about being on that public bus and that homeless guy jerking off, right? Like, you show me them titties. Yes. Like that's funny because you're like, oh my god, he's on a bus. I know what that's like.
Like you have to tell jokes to the common man. I feel like
and then it just gets to this point where and I feel like also you get to that point with like a certain level of like power and charisma where like people laugh no matter what.
Yes, yeah.
Like, you're just up there, like, if you're Bill Burr, like, you could go up there, you could just, like, shout into the mic random shit, and, like, people are gonna die. Like, you're Bill Burr. Like, you got to that level. And so, when you have something that doesn't quite crush, like, I guess it's probably just easy to just lash out at them and just be like, this is your fault. That's a funny joke. And you're like,
Well, I think that it's because when you're a new comedian, if something doesn't land, you're like, oh, I suck. And then once you're super seasoned, you're like, I can't suck. Look at who I am. It must be
suck.
them. Yeah.
Right, yeah. There's a lot of comedians that, like, I really loved when they were younger, and it's horrible that I always get this way, but, like, as they get older, I just find them less and less funny, and I feel like there's a certain element of, like, entitlement where it's like, I don't feel like you're trying as hard.
Yeah.
Like, you're not putting the same effort into those jokes that, like, the random no-name comics do.
Yeah, because they're not as hungry because they already have it.
Right,
It's like, and I think that...
You better write a killer joke because I don't even know your name.
Right, yeah,
you know?
You're like, I have to come out, like, guns blazing because I want these people to walk away and remember my name tonight, not like, oh, my name was on the marquee outside.
You gotta bring the heat,
like,
You have to. Like, I've seen a ton of comedy shows where solid comedians, and I thought the person that they had open for them
was better than the headliner.
Yeah, I mean, it's shorter. I'm sure they couldn't go for an hour. You know what I mean? But, like,
I saw the jokes themselves.
Tara Tomlinson, right? Was
Taylor?
Taylor Tomlinson? No.
The blonde?
Yeah, blonde.
Yeah, Taylor.
Is it Taylor Tomlinson?
Yeah.
Okay. So, or Tomlin or Tomlinson? Now I'm second guessing myself.
I think it's Taylor Tomlinson. But you guys know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Quarter life crisis girl.
Taylor, if you're watching, I'm so
she's
sorry.
Not watching, but
you're so funny. And this is going your way. I want you to know. Taylor opened for Brian Regan at Van Wazel. We saw. I took my wife, and we were dying. This was like 4 years ago. No, we had never heard of her.
Yeah.
She came out there and absolutely killed it. And I remember walked out. We were like, Brian was great. Love Brian. Brian, if you're watching, I don't want you to think this is a bad joke about you either.
I am very flattered that you think any of these people are listening to the
obviously
podcast.
watching.
Yeah.
So afterwards, we were talking about it, and I was like, but like that girl at the beginning, Taylor something? Like, we had to look it up because we didn't know her name then either. We were like, she killed it. Like, I hope we start seeing her name. And then I saw her, like, she's on Netflix and shit. I was like, oh my god, babe, this is the girl from the Brian Regan show. It was so exciting. Congratulations, girl. You killed it in that Netflix special. One of the best Netflix specials of the year.
I love that though, but there's been also, which I don't understand, is because there are so many good people who are like a strong feature act, and when I see a headliner bring like a really, really weak opener, I'm like, oh, you don't have any confidence because you brought somebody that you didn't want to be funnier than you. Because what if I paid $40 to see you at the Improv or whatever, like I want my $40 worth. I don't want a shitty opener and then you come out and crush it. Like I want a good all around show.
Yeah.
Because I'm still, even though I do comedy, I'm a comedy fan first. Like. Yeah,
and I mean that's true. I feel like that is a different, like we're different in that regard. Like we mentioned, we were talking earlier during dinner, the backstory to this bit. Like we were talking that like we want to see good jokes.
Yeah.
Like I want to see you write a joke. I want to see you thread that needle. I want to see you drive against traffic, weaving, and like I can't believe you pulled that off. This is so crazy offensive and dark, and you still managed to like avoid everything. That was brilliant. They just want to laugh.
Yeah, they do just want to laugh. So I think that there's like a weird balancing act because there's also the flip side, because we were saying that it's really frustrating sometimes when a comic will get up and just say the lamest, hackiest stuff and the audience is eating it up because the audience isn't necessarily a comedy nerd and they don't know all the ins and outs. They just came out to laugh and the guy made them laugh. The girl made them laugh.
I always have like out of body experiences when that happens. Like, when you're a comedy show, you just get so lost in it, and you're laughing, whatever. And then when that starts to happen, I feel like further and further, like, I am somehow sitting above in a balcony watching it, like, I don't get it.
But, well, what I was going to say was that there's, like, also the flip side of it is where there's comedians who only tell jokes for other comedians. And I'm like, but they're not your audience.
That's tough.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's a very hard line, but there's the flip side of that, too, where there's comedians who literally only tell jokes to make the other comics in the back of the room laugh. And I'm like, okay, but they're never going to buy tickets to your show. They're not your fans. They're not your audience.
But they don't care, because they're like like those comedians.
They're like they want to be like the indie comedians.
Yeah, like they're cool. They're funny. Don't get me wrong. Like the Kurt Metzgers and stuff. But I feel like these are like also the same kids that were like the goths in high school. Like, you just don't get it. Like, comedy is like their thing. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a good joke. They don't get it. Fuck them because I'm smart. That's a good comic joke.
Yeah.
And these are the same ones that are always complaining about like how comedy is changing and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they let women do it now. What's up with that?
And
like,
comedy is so subjective that it's really hard to be like, this is good, this is bad, this is whatever. Because everybody has a very different opinion on
it's all stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Like, Nanette, it's still some form of stand-up, right? Like, I would argue a lot of it's not very funny, obviously. It's very, like, whoa. But there's a lot of
I never saw it, honestly, so I know what you're referring to, but I've never...
But there's a lot of this, like, kind of... And, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think too many people are trying to jump onto it like it's their thing. But I think, like, stand-up comedy in general is just you being you to 11.
Yeah.
So, like, if you
I
is,
totally
like,
agree with that,
a really tender, quiet, awkward, like, whatever, that doesn't have a lot of, like, out loud jokes, like, that's you. Like, Maria Bamford, I love her. Like, she's great. Very strange out there, kind of, like, in her own head, but, like, that's just her dial to 11 versus, like, we mentioned, like, Bert Kreischer, who's just this, like, charisma engine of just like, oh, I'm Bert Kreischer, I'm taking my shirt off, and you're like, oh my god, he's doing the thing.
Yeah,
and like,
his personality gets
it's just you to 11.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you get people that, like, oh, I'm going to release, like, Aziz Ansari did his last show, right? I don't know if you saw it on Netflix.
No, I didn't see it, but I knew that he had a special that came out after his whole weird thing.
I don't know. Like, it was like, if this is really him now, and he's just having this, like, kind of moment to think over who he wants to be and the legacy he wants to leave behind, like, whatever, but it kind of felt like he was trying to tap into this instead. Like, he's like, oh, I watched all these, like, indie alt comics go in, and I liked his first specials. I thought he was hilarious. It's very relatable. It's like, oh, I'm young, I'm selfish, I don't care. And, like, it was just hilarious that, you know, the baby jokes, people, like, sending, like, Snapchats of babies walking, and, like, dude, he can barely walk, like, 3 steps without tripping. Like, I'm high-stepping.
Yeah.
Like, that was funny to me. And then, like, now he's trying to tap into this, like, soft, sensitive guy with a lot of, like, heart-to-hearts. I'm like...
And it didn't fit. Well, is
this you, though?
But I think that that's the thing with stand-up comedy is that it's very blatant when it's not genuine.
Right.
Or if it doesn't feel, if it's not coming across as sincere of like...
Right.
Yeah, because then it's just a performance. I'm like, okay, I can go watch a movie where someone's acting. I came to see stand-up comedy. Like,
yeah. Nanette's a perfect example because, like, Hannah Gatsby, Nanette, she did that, and it was interesting. Like, I enjoyed it. There were definitely some big laughs, but for the most part, like, it was an intense hour. I was like, wow, that was a hell of a performance overall. Like, that was really interesting. And then, Aries, you're a star.
He is a star.
You're a star.
There's a wolf dog in here, I know.
And then she did her second special, and I made it like maybe 10, 12 minutes before I turned it off.
Yeah.
It felt like she was like, hey, remember when I bottled lightning? I'm going to do it again.
Well, there's also
like,
a thing of like, I feel like people think that stand-up comedy is so easy that people are like, I don't know what else to do. Let me do comedy. And to me, that's offensive because I'm like, this is hard. Like, this is like, I don't know. But like, I was thinking about the whole like cancel thing and how things are so crazy on the national level, but it does like trickle down into like smaller scenes and stuff. And I guess I just have okay, so I don't know where we're drawing the line, I guess, because like I had a falling out with somebody because I'm friends with someone who's friends with someone that they have a problem with. And I'm like, where are we? Like, how many degrees of separation are we? Because if that's your logic, no one's ever going to live up to those standards.
Sure.
100%. Yeah, so I just don't know where...
So, like, my take on all of this, for whatever that's worth...
Yeah, no, it's worth... I mean, I'm asking you, so...
I don't ever want to be the guy trying to regulate the outrage valve, right? Like, that's my thing. Like, right now, there's a bunch of stuff going on in terms of, like, protesting, things like that for the most part, I'm like, 100%, burn it down, I don't care, throw the chains over, pull it to the ground, set it on fire. I don't care. Like, you have all of my support, break everything. But there's a lot of stuff that I see, too, that just seems like, that's silly. Like, don't do that. But at the same time... Hey, like, this stuff doesn't happen on its own. Yeah. Like a lot of people were sexually abused, fired from things, like, shunned from certain clubs, whatever else. Horrible shit had to happen before this happened, and now you want to, like, regulate the Weinstein outrage and be like, well, okay, Weinstein could go, but this guy, and you're like, hey, listen, it went for too long.
No,
it went for way too long.
I completely agree with you.
Keep your head down, keep your nose clean, let them riot, let them burn it down, come back when it's done. But, like, I'm not going to put my hand on the valve and be like, well, I like civil rights, but let's control the flow, shall we? No, dude, too late. Flood's coming.
Yeah,
just hide your home.
I'm all about it, too, because I'm like, the system needs to change. Like, so much stuff is wrong in the world, for sure. But, like, on an interpersonal level, you can't... Anybody who... People are human. So people fuck up all the time. People make mistakes. People do stuff that you're not going to like. So I'm confused as to where some people... I guess this is my thing. The people who are so outraged, a lot of times they're just angry, but they don't know what they want to come out of it. So I'm like, so what are you looking for here? Like, what can someone do to make you not feel this way? And they don't have an answer, but they're so outraged and they're going to take it out on you. But I'm like, I'm willing to listen if you have something to say, but there's not much that you're saying. So I don't, it's just it's like you can never win with everybody. Yeah. But it's just, this is the first time that this has happened to me as an adult. So I'm just kind of like wrestling with it internally. But I'm like, how am I getting demonized for being friends with someone who is associated with someone else? Like, how is that coming back on me?
I mean, people, when they're really angry, don't behave rationally.
Yeah.
So it's really no different than, like, when you're in an argument with a friend and they say some super over-the-top shit that you're like, whoa, that escalated quickly. Like...
Well, I guess I'm just at the point that I'm like, where's the rationale here? Like, if you can't have a reasonable, rational conversation with someone, that's when the conversation is over, to me.
Sure.
We can talk about abstract ideas all the time, but if you're saying, like, really unreasonable things and you are just talking and not listening at all, I don't know, that's not a conversation at that point.
Gotta let them burn it out. Like, honestly, like, it's like, hey, when the flood's coming, like, I'm going home.
Get on the ark?
yeah. Like, when a lot of these, the comedians, like, the Twitter mob, cancel, whatever else, they talk about it, I'm just like, Ricky Gervais, turn off your phone. Like, Ricky, if you're watching... Turn off your goddamn phone. You know you can do that, right? You don't have to respond to every tweet. Turn off your phone. Just go away.
Well, and I think
especially if you're rich. You have the privilege and the money to... You can go away.
Yeah. You're not necessarily stuck in your house like the rest of us peasants are at this time. Like, you can, like, go to an island or something.
Yeah, Ricky, you don't have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Turn off your phone, dude.
No. But I think that's another problem, is that the whole world has too much time on their hands now.
Oh, yeah. So everything's burning.
Yeah, we have nothing but time to fight online.
Yeah. I think the only times that I ever feel like I almost want to get involved, like I never want to put my hand on the outrage valve. Like I just hide. Like that's when I see like you said, like you're not rational anymore. They're just angry. Like I just go away. I'm just like, hey, you know what? I'm not dying over Confederate statues, right? You know what I mean? Like hey, if other things burn down too, like whatever. Like I'm out. But when it comes to stuff like this, the one times that I do feel almost like I want to get involved is when like progressives eat each other. That's when I do feel just a little bit like, and I'm not talking about faux progressive, I'm not talking about like, you know, the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, like who temper like I'm an ally, like bitch, you've been in the way forever. Like,
no, I know what you mean.
I mean like legit, and especially you see this, especially like LGBT community, you get a lot of like older gay guys who say some pretty raunchy stuff sometimes about like trans people, or very transphobic maybe, and it like that's it, like it's over. Like it happened, it's on Twitter because ContraPoints was talking about it. Like Buck Angel is this like trans porn, or well, he's transsexual. He also had like Operation whatever else, and apparently he's
Buck Angel. That's a hell of a name.
Buck Angel is a hell of a name. I didn't know who this dude was, right? So this stuff is blowing up. I had to read all about it. This guy was born a woman, got surgery, everything else, looks totally like a dude in every way, and calls himself a man, everything else, lives like a man, right? But he has said a number of like super like transphobic things because he doesn't accept this idea that like gender's a social construct, you can be this in your head. Like he's like, you either get the surgery, you do it, or you don't. You are not me. And he says a whole bunch of crazy shit that sets a lot of people off. They get really upset. But like they go nuts on this dude. They tried to cancel somebody else who like had him voice something in a YouTube video, like all this crazy stuff. And there was a part of me that was like, I know everything he said was super problematic. I get that.
Yeah.
Do you understand the torture that this guy has withstood though to get? Do you realize the roads that he paved for you to be able to have this discussion?
Well, that's the thing. It's like
let's just slow it down a little bit and try and explain why he's wrong before we set him on fire. Like, you can make an ally out of this person. And that's when it kills me. Is like some of these people that could be allies, and
get alienated.
That's it. Yeah. And we're like, we're setting him on fire. He's canceled. And you're like, guys.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like,
you can't cancel everybody because then you're going to be on an island all by yourself. Because that's the problem with like the woke thing. And I understand that all like at the most fundamental level, they just want people to be treated equally, which if you're not for that, then you're an asshole.
Yeah.
But it's like at a certain point, and especially like on Twitter and stuff, you can never be woke enough. Like never. You can never, because it's like, you can't just say one thing. You're like, well, you're standing up for this. What about these 5,000 other issues? You're like, I didn't even know those. First of all, wait, I didn't even know about those. It's just.
I haven't taken the college class yet on that.
Yes,
I don't know
it's
that
just
yet.
so much. It's like, I just feel like if people are trying to understand others and they're not trying to be hateful about it, or even if they say some shit that's fucked up, like that guy, like some really ignorant stuff, like, are you even going to give a chance to be like, this is why what you said was wrong?
Right.
Or are you just going to be like, I can't believe those words came out of your mouth 5 years ago. We never want to see you again. Take him off YouTube. Take him off this. Like, it's.
Yeah, I guess I just don't end up seeing the concrete results. Like, do those people end up getting canceled though?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, does something actually happen, or is it just like people
it's just
blow
like
you
a
up on
solar
Twitter?
flare up. Yeah, it's just like it's this huge explosion, and then it's gone, and then we're on to sacrificing the next person. It's just like a never-ending cycle of like, who didn't say the right thing today?
Yeah, that's why anytime that stuff happens, I'm just like, just log on Twitter for a bit.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to stay mad at you that long.
And a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, it's like, give them a minute and they might change their mind. Like,
for sure.
So many people are just ignorant because they haven't been exposed to things. Like, they just, it's not an excuse, but it's like helps you understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. It's so
And there's some people who are just like, to me, there's kind of a difference between being an ignorant person about things and being like ignorant and hateful, where you're like, I don't understand this, I've never seen this, I don't know what this is, and being like, I don't know what this is, and those people are going straight to hell.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not everybody is in the same camp of being ignorant, to me. I mean,
no,
maybe
I 100% agree.
Yeah, but there's so many people who are like, wait a minute, wait a second, like... It's like it can, sometimes it feels like you can never do enough to be like, wait, I'm a good person.
It's so tough too, because like everything that you're saying I agree with, and the major issue is there's people though that are shitheads that hide in the words that you're saying.
Oh yeah.
Like this conversation of like it's too woke, whatever, like I'm down to have those conversations, but I know so many people, and unfortunately I would argue it's the majority of people that hide in that. That like, oh, it's the woke police coming to get me. It's like, you're an asshole though.
No,
like,
yeah, totally.
You deserve this. Like when you say something and I saw someone get upset and you go, oh, man, that's really fucked up. I feel like, okay, wait, guys, listen. We know Amanda. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel comfortable saying, like, it's okay. Relax. But, like, this conversation we're having right now, I can name at least 5 local comedians that would be in on this conversation that I would be, like, side-eyeing the entire time the conversation. Like, you son of a man, you're an asshole.
And that's the heart.
You know? And they draw that out of us. They're like, sometimes it goes too far. I'm like, yeah, it does. Hey, wait a minute. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, no, and I see you.
But that's the problem, is that you don't really know what's in someone's head, so you don't know what the intentions are always. So it's like, are you saying this stupid thing because you're really just stupid and don't know any better, or are you saying this stupid thing because you're like, well, I can't believe those gays are getting married.
Right. Like, are you just walking it back now? Like, oh, I just didn't know that it was offensive. Like, I feel like you should have known. Like, I don't know, it's tough. And that's probably part of why people get so upset is like, you gotta figure from their perspective, they're just being gaslit 24/7.
Yeah, and I know that, and
like,
so it's
all the time. Like, do you really not know?
And I see
or do you not know?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And I see both sides of that. So it is hard because it's like, who legitimately deserves to just never be heard from again, and who do we need to give a second chance to? That, but that's like the part of being a human, I guess, is like.
These are big questions. I don't know.
And I don't have the answers. I'm just saying that these are things that I think about because I still don't know the answer, and I still say stuff that I'm like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have said that. But
I do. Yeah.
I feel like I'm learning every day, and honestly, doing comedy, I feel like has opened my eyes up a lot because like. Before doing comedy, like, of course I had met gay people, but I'd never had, like, a close gay friend. I'd never, like, I've just met so many different types of people. Yeah. 3 years ago, I probably would have said some crazy shit because I legitimately didn't, not that I didn't know that it was wrong to say it, but I'd never had an experience. Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know, this seems a little funny to me.
You're like, oh, that's gay. Yeah. And now, like, years later, you're like, man, I said that a lot. Like,
I even, sometimes, honestly, I will be the first to admit, sometimes I still say that not even thinking about it because we're the same age.
Right.
If you went to high school in the early 2000s, you said everything was gay because that's what everybody, like...
Everything was gay back
and retarded.
Then.
Gay and retarded.
In the 90s, I'm still working on retarded, I'll be honest with you. That didn't come until way later. I used to work at Best Buy, and there's this really sweet woman, and she was one of the cashiers, and one day, I said something was retarded, and she told me point blank, like right on the spot, was like, you're better than that, you shouldn't say whatever else, and it turns out that, like, one of her kids, you know, and And man, it was like just a ton of bricks on my shoulders, like, oh, I'm such a shit.
Yeah, but like, saying stuff is
I'm
gay.
I'm being canceled at Best Buy. Like, I was just like, I'm such a shit, Lauren.
Saying weird and stupid things are gay and retarded, that, like, you don't think, when I say something like that, I'm not thinking about an actual homosexual person, and I'm not thinking about someone with a mental handicap. I'm thinking,
so LGBT. Like, no,
yes, I'm still thinking as my stupid 13-year-old self, like, that's gay. Like, I don't...
Yeah, I stopped the gay thing a while.
Yes, I've gotten a lot better.
I don't even remember the last time I said that's gay, and this was being, like, ironic, but, like...
I said it, like, a year ago, because I got in trouble, and I was like, oh, sorry. But I
still slip up sometimes.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's so retarded. That's stupid.
But I'll be the first to say I shouldn't be saying that. Like, I know it's wrong, and if I say it, it was a slip up, but, like, it comes out of my mouth, and, like, should I never be on the internet again because I've said retarded and gay? Like, I don't know.
I think it's all in how you take it, too, though. Like, I've yet to see someone who handled it well and still, like, got hell for it. It's always the people that are like, sorry to anybody who was actually offended. You're like, well, you can't be a dick about it. Like, just say it. Like, I've said tons of shit that people thought was horrible, and I'm like,
if you're going to apologize for something and it not even really be an apology, just say it. Like, don't be an asshole about it. Like, if you're not going to really sincerely apologize for something, just don't even say anything.
And, like, I definitely, like, I don't do, like, edgelord, like, racist stock, but I definitely do a number of jokes that are
edgelord.
they're definitely like I'm picking pretty hard at wounds. You know what I mean? And like, okay, when I do that joke though, I feel like at the same time, if someone came up to me after a show and was like, that was really fucked up what you said about whatever, like, I don't know, like I do like the abortion joke, right? Like it's pretty dark and pretty brutal. I mean, at one point I basically tell, like, you know, there are people that should have been aborted. Like, it gets pretty dark, right? It's smarter than what I just set it out to be. But, like, if someone ever came up to me and, like, I don't know, had gone through an abortion, was super traumatizing, and was like, you shouldn't make jokes, but whatever, like, I wouldn't just be like, I'm fucking suck it up, buttercup. I would be like, I'm so sorry. Like, but you came here to have a good time.
10, the people that would say that, there's someone that are not even affected, but they're mad for someone else. Like...
Yeah, I don't even know, honestly. Maybe, yeah, it definitely happens. Like, for sure, that's a thing.
Well, because, like... maybe not that, because you can't tell who got an abortion by looking at them, but like the race thing a lot of the time.
I feel like sometimes you could though.
Well, yeah, I mean you can take an educated guess on a lot of people. But like the race thing, a lot of the times people who are getting mad about race stuff is like other white people getting mad on behalf of, and it's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Ooh, Wolf Boy's mad. Wolf Boy does not stand for racism.
I think he was asleep. I think I just like bumped him and he was like, what's happening?
Well, we've already been talking for almost an hour, and I did want to talk to you about a couple other things, because you are kind of rare in the fact that you are a young 30-something, happily married. That's kind of rare right now. Because I feel like right now it's like the age of like a situationship. So how long have you been with your wife?
So we've been married for just over a year. We got married in May. In fact, it's funny. It's 5:25. We did the Bob's Burgers joke with the. I think they were like 3.6 or 3.9, or like 3 is visible by 9, or 9 is visible by 3. And he's like, what? That doesn't work. And then like Hugh, the food inspector, comes in. He's like, I remember it because 9 is visible by 3. And like we thought that was funny, and we're like, we'll do 5:25. You know what I mean? Like, why not? So we married for a little over a year. We've been together for like 4.5, 5 years. Let's see. Yeah, like 4.5 years actually. Yeah. So we were engaged for a little over a year. Just general bad planning craziness. Dated for 3 years. You know.
Are most of your friends married, or do you have a lot of single friends, or like what's the dynamic? Like
so. It's a mix. Yeah, they've like come and gone. So most of my personal closest friends are actually all still single. But we did have like a lot of married friends. I was the third wheel for most of that until I met her, actually. Like I had a lot of friends that were married. The friends that I have that are super close, but I've just known them forever. We don't see each other as often. A lot of like my peers, people that I worked with, you know, that other layer of friends, almost all married.
Yeah.
I was like the only single one.
Okay. Yeah, because most of my friends are married. Yeah.
How's dating? It's terrible, obviously. Why do you ask?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Do you notice that too? Like, do you feel like you're kind of a minority being a young married person?
Happily married, yeah.
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 Yes.
I have a lot of
Caveat
friends.
Happily.
This is terrible. I have a lot of friends though, like they're married.
That are unhappily married.
I often wonder. Like sometimes I know, and because like it's come up.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know, and I can just kind of like see like that's just weird. Did it seem weird? Like we'll be driving home, just like it seems weird. I'm like, oh.
Well, and I feel like we're in a weird shift right now where it's like the world is changing, and a lot of people are choosing not to get married, not to have kids, all that kind of stuff. Where it's like
It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, it is. But like the more free choices out there. But I feel like our parents' generation, you were a total outcast if you were like the weird aunt who didn't get married and didn't have kids or whatever.
Right.
And now it's kind of the norm to be a single person and just do whatever you want to. Which is
amazing.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people are pressured by their family, by society, whatever, to do so. You should only get married because you really, really love the other person and they really love you too, and you guys both want to do it, not because it's what you should do. Like,
it's the next step in life. You graduate high school, you either work or go to college, you get married, you have kids.
I feel like so many people have this roadmap for their life where they're just going to plug stuff in if it doesn't really fit, but it kind of does.
Well, I got to settle down. You really don't.
No, you really don't, because you're just going to either end up married and miserable or divorced and go, like, no one ever wants to divorce is never fun, so it's like, I just feel like there's a weird, especially in America, where a lot of people aren't getting married anymore. So it's just, whenever I meet somebody who's like, no, I'm like obsessed with my wife or my husband or whatever, I'm like, oh my God, tell me more, because
I didn't plan it. So like, here's This is what a dating advice from a guy who doesn't look like he should be giving it.
Oh my God.
So like,
give me some because I'm.
This is my. So I get a lot of guys that ask me, especially usually when they meet my wife, who's like infinitely more attractive than I am. They're like, "So what'd you do? How to like tell me what did you do?" You know what I mean? Not really. It's a source of pride. I'm like,
well, I feel like it would be worse if people were like, "Why'd you settle for this big?"
Take a guess. So, and I'm not rich. So, like, I would have a lot of guys always ask me, and like I could tell what they were getting at. So how'd you meet your wife? And you're like, I know what you're getting at. Like, I know where this is going. It's fine. I'll answer this for you. Here's what you need to do to be happy in your dating life. All right, this is the ultimate dating tip. It's about to get very romantic. Fucking give up. Like, well,
I've already done
100%. And I don't just mean tell people that you've given up.
Actually,
you have to give up. So here's what happened.
The universe will know what's in your heart.
Yes. I had a ton of shit relationships, just bad relationships over and over again. Kept trying to make it work, getting cheated on, getting left, like just horrible relationships, right? And at some point, I sat there and I was like, I listened to like a lot of my guy friends, you know, women this, women that, women are crazy, whatever else. And I stopped and I was like, okay, like rational brain kicking in. I have women cheat on me or leave me and failed relationships all the time. The common denominator here is me. I need to get it together. I need to figure out why I am so attracted to women who are insecure and do whatever and like cheat on me and leave and whatever, because I don't accept this idea that like people cheat and leave and do whatever else because they're just like evil people. Like they're just like ha ha ha, like and like ride off. Like no, like they have their own issues.
Well,
and it manifests
what do cheaters ride off into the sunset in?
I don't.
You know that Rob Zombie video where he's driving like the Hell Wagon?
Yeah,
that's Dragula. Yeah, that's what I imagine. All cheaters ride off into the sunset in the Dragula.
That's with their new boo.
Yeah. Or multiple boos, however.
Or multiple boos, yeah. I was just like, I need to like not get involved in a relationship, and then I started dating. I started the Tinder thing and all that stuff, and again, just tons of people ghosting and leaving.
How did you guys meet?
So she was the maid of honor for one of my friend's weddings.
Oh, okay.
So I had been single for about almost 3 years before I met her, and I still dated, but like never the same person for like a long period of time, just like multiple people whenever. Yeah. And as soon as
you were casually dating, but no serious relationship.
That was that, right? So like I legit though, I gave up. Like I was like, it's over. I'm not going to marry. I'm not going to find the one to spend the rest of my life with. Like, it's just not gonna happen. But that doesn't mean that I'm not, it's going to get all weird, romantic, and mushy. That doesn't mean that I'm not gonna love. I'm not gonna be loved. I'm not gonna share great things with people. I'm not gonna leave a really great impact with people. Like, it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna be a really important part of other people's lives. Like, I'm still gonna travel. I'm gonna have great fucking stories. Like, everything is fine. I'm just not going to do it consistently with the same person for the rest of my life.
Well, isn't that what people always say when you're not looking for it is when, like, the real thing comes?
Yeah, but see, the problem with that is people then they go, okay, so I'm not looking for it, right? Yeah. Like, no, you're still looking for it. They're like, you have to give up not to find them. You have to give up to give up. Let it go.
Yeah.
You're going to be by yourself.
Because when you're focusing on, like, when you're hyper-focused on, like, oh my gosh, I really need to find a mate, it's like, then you're just like... You're like, who's gonna...
You'll take what you can get. You're gonna start putting the circle in the square hole. Like, it doesn't work that way. I legit was just like, that's it. And it doesn't mean I'm gonna be alone. I still have great people around me. And I just started, like, going out to concerts with friends, whatever else, just hey, whatever, I'm down.
Yeah.
I started learning Spanish online for no reason at all. I don't know.
Do you still know any of it?
I do still remember a little bit of Spanish. So, like, I worked at a Best Buy. I had a lot of Spanish-speaking customers come in. And so I was just like, why not? That's something
I'm such an American. I only remember the food words from high school. I'm like...
Hey, I mean, that's a good thing to know. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to eat when I travel.
That's true.
I just stopped. I bought a keyboard, like electric keyboard. Started like YouTube tutorials on how to play piano, and I started staying home a lot more, like just myself instead of just going out trying to meet a girl or whatever else. Yeah, like I just stay home. Like like we're gonna go out. We're like, who's going? Like, oh, it's just me and the guys, whatever. Like, I'm just gonna stay home. Like, I don't want to do that because I know what you're gonna do. And then I ended up meeting my wife and was like, instantly like.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool.
It was like, oh.
But play it cool. And, you know, over time, like, it just started
worked out.
It just started happening. Yeah, like, it's... But I'd given up. Like, when I met her, like, it wasn't like, oh, okay, I should change my plan. And then even when we started dating, it wasn't like I started dating, it was like, I'm gonna get serious again. Like, it just started happening. Like, it just worked.
Yeah.
And it stayed working.
Yeah.
And after, like, 2 years, I was like...
You're like, wait, this is still working. Like,
yeah, like, I feel like it wasn't so much, like, the marriage thing as it was... I feel like in any relationship, as you get older, it's not so much... Like, you just learn to spot the red flags and, like, ignore them quicker. Like, you learn how people handle conflict. You know what I mean? Like, and I knew... Like, there were a lot of people... That, like, a lot of girls I dated were, like... I knew in the back of my head, I'm like, this isn't good. But then, like, you know, something went good again... And you bang, and you're like, everything's great.
Yeah. Well, I got married really young and divorced really young, so I always am interested when people, like, do it the quote-unquote right way or whatever, so I'm like...
Semi-right way.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just nice to hear that people... Because I feel like, especially with the internet, even, like, there's just so many memes and everything, it's like, people won't post who they're dating, and, like, it's such a weird... time and environment. Like, dating is never easy under any circumstances, any time in history, but it's even weirder now, right now, because it's like...
Keep that shit off the internet.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird. So it's just nice and refreshing when I meet somebody and they're like, oh no, I'm happily with my partner and, like, we love each other. Because most people are like, this fucking ball and chain or this asshole.
I hate those jokes so much, dude.
Yeah.
That is something that, like, kills me about guys. Like, you put a bunch of guys in a room and
all they do is talk shit about women. Yeah.
To, like, like, my kids, my wife, whatever. Why did you have kids, you asshole? Like, if you don't like your kids, why did you have them?
It's
like,
not just men. There are women who hate their kids, too. I'm like, you know you didn't have to do that, right?
You don't have to do that. Yeah. I don't know, man. The old ball and chain. Please don't jump in the animals everywhere.
Oh, it's okay.
None in the freezer, though. So
oh my god, thank God. No cat juice in this.
No cat juice, no.
Well, on that note, we're at an hour, so if you want to give out your social media for people to follow you whenever comedy starts happening again and all that jazz.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. It's LOL at Mike Peters is the /. I haven't really done anything with my Facebook comedy page at all. And pretty soon, my podcast will be going live next week. First episode's recorded.
Oh, what's it called?
Swamp Radio.
Swamp Radio.
It'll be a really awesome radio style show.
And when is that coming out? Because this episode will be out on Monday the 20th.
That's a great question. I would love to have it out like second week of next month.
Okay.
It's pretty much recorded. I'm trying to finish my second episode so that I'm at least sort of backlogged. I'm like preparing to procrastinate.
Okay, this sounds very familiar.
Yeah,
I know. I'm like, okay, so how much can I procrastinate and still get the project done?
There's a lot of writing, so like it's not just quite like interview format. There'll be an interview each episode, but a lot of it is like pre-sketched, written gags, bits, etc.
Okay.
So there is a fair amount of like pre-planning that goes into it. I can't just wing everything all the time. But I mean, you recorded a little bit for one of the fake commercials that will be in Swamp Radio.
Yes, I did that, but I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a real commercial. I was like, oh.
So that is so Short Boys beer is it will be one of the brands that I'll occasionally you'll have a credit on there. It's a fake radio show. It's supposed to be very satirical. I'll play music from local bands in the area, a couple songs each episode. I'll do the typical radio conversations, a couple pre-recorded bits, maybe some game show style, whatever.
But I like that a lot because there are so many interview style podcasts that I like that you're doing something a little bit different. Like,
I wanted to promote a lot of other people, right? And then there's a lot of like fake commercials and stuff like that for products. I'll do some commercials for real friends businesses. You know, Melissa Nichols is running the her food
Kiros,
cooperative.
I think it's called Kiros.
Yeah, Kiros. Fantastic food, by the way. Wish I could plug the name right now. Can't remember. I've ordered a ton of it. It's great. Melissa, if you're watching, that's your plug. I
can put a link in the show notes.
Yeah. It's great. I want to plug people's real businesses. I want to get their passions out there, and I'm just stalling through the rest of the show with just random shit that I think up that I think is funny. Like
that's
Short
awesome.
Boys
So
beer
Swamp Radio.
Swamp Radio.
Swamp Radio. Okay, so it'll be out in August, is that right?
Yeah. Second week of August.
Well, if you follow him
Keep an
online,
eye
then
out.
you'll know when it comes out because he's going to post about it, right?
I'll be blowing it up.
All right. Well, okay. That's pretty much it. So we're done. Thank you so much for coming on and having me for dinner. Listen, this is my jam. This is the second time during lockdown where someone's like, if you come to my house, I'll cook you dinner. And I'm like, say no more.
Yeah. Anytime.
Thank you so much. And your wife is amazing and your pets are so cute.
Yeah, they're stars. They're everywhere.
I love it. All right. I will see you guys next week. I'm Amanda. Have a good one. Bye.